Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I know it's been a long day for all of us, and you, especially the team that's always here to keep us all informed. Today is the Board of Education Policy Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, March 13th, 2025. The time is now 5:03. And the first thing on our agenda, well, first of all, welcome to the board members. I have Janine Randolph with me and Mary Ellen Flaherty Ludwig. I also have Ralph Valenzizi and Jill Kress for this evening on the policies we will be discussing. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read? Are there any changes or corrections?
I didn't see any corrections on it.
I didn't either. Okay.
Okay.
So minutes have been approved. Next item is public comments. I was not emailed any comments and there's no one here. So thank you for that. And this afternoon, we'll be discussing policy 5037, meal charging policy, which is a new policy, and also policy 5031, student nutrition and physical activity policy, which will have some updates. And with that, I am transferring the meeting over to Ralph for now.
Thank you, Chairman Carpione, and good evening, board. So I'm excited to have Jill Kress, who is in charge of our lunch program for us here in the district, join us tonight to talk about two policies that have to do with our specifically with our meal charging and also with our wellness. One policy is a new policy that needs to be put into place, and Jill can explain why we do need this meal charging policy in place. And then the second policy is really just a couple of updates. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jill, from when the Wellness Committee meets, you guys, these are things that you normally discuss. And at times there are little things that need to be tweaked or updated on an annual basis. And those are the things that you'll kind of share, those couple of little minor changes and stuff to so it doesn't change the policy or the regulation. It really is just kind of augmenting it in a sense.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, great. And I'll turn it over to you, Jill. Thanks.
Okay. Did you want to?
Yeah, I'll share out the meal
So
charge.
let me just explain the charging policy and why we need this in the district. So the state, it is of course a state requirement. Everybody loves to hear me say that. I say it quite a bit, but most of what we do, because we're using federal dollars, we need to follow their rules. So the meal charging policy is basically letting parents, families, anyone know if we do go back to meal applications, the negative meal balance or debt, how that accrues is based on our charge policy. So we have to have this in place so that if we do have students that end up not having funds to pay for a meal, there's rules in line for that. So that's basically what the meal charging policy is and what our guidelines will be and how to follow that. So this is the meal charging policy. So currently that we use an automated payment system, our point of sale system. So students all have their own student ID. So they're all literally individualized that way. If a student is free, reduced, or paid, it's non-identifiable. So all the student does is punch in the number. The only two people that see that is the student that knows it and the cashier that's checking them out. So it's got to stay very private. So we will not be using a student of any sort of meal. Every student, even though they don't have money, must get a regular meal. There's no cheese sandwich, which used to be way back when, and there's no option for a different meal. They strictly can get whatever meal is on their plate. It's basically the guidelines through that. So every student is treated the same. They get whichever meal they choose. We'll if they don't have money, we'll put it in a negative in their individualized account. So do you want to scroll up a little bit? Am I missing anything, Ralph? Just let me
Nope.
know. So the collection of unpaid meal balances is where it tends to be a little bit difficult. So written communication will go out after 3 meals that have not been paid for, and then verbal communications will go out to the parents. Emails will then start to go out after the full 3, and then it will be pulled into the social services, or the school will designate someone to not social services, sorry, social workers.
Social workers.
Sorry. And then they can reach out to the families and basically see if they're okay, if there's anything they need from us as a district. And then unpaid meal charges. I guess, what are we doing? 30, let's see, students' unpaid meal charges equal more than the cost of 30 meals. The parents will be referred to me. I am the homeless liaison. So that would be my referral, and I would send home a basically a meal application to see if they can fill that out, if there's anything else we can do for them, if what I can do, or are they having a hard time, we'll see what else we can do and get that application completed. And that's really, let me see, am I missing something? The district shall maintain and send. Okay, so yeah, this will be posted on the food service website when we are in need of going back to the applications. I don't want to post it now, mainly because it will confuse a little bit of confuse our families, because we are currently free. Anything else that I'm missing, Ralph? I don't see it.
I think you covered it, and I think the key piece too, Jill, if correct me if I'm wrong, but once again, this is it's statute that we do have to have this in place in order to be part of CEP as well.
Yes, sure.
So once again, it's a policy that with CEP really would not be used, but it's in lieu of, like I said, if something does happen, this would we would have to have a policy like this in place in order to be able to just be part of the free and reduced lunch program.
Right. Now, I don't know if a lot of you were here when we had meal applications, but it's a huge undertaking. And so when we do go back, if we do have to go back out to meal applications, having a policy in place makes all the difference, because of that piece. So definitely main concern, every student, no one's identified as not paying because they get a different lunch. Every student gets the same meal, and then we just roll that over in our point of sale system.
Jill, I was going to ask about the applications. Is it the same as it was before?
The meal applications
should
be, but I haven't looked at an application in about 3 years, because in CEP, they update every year. So I'm sure by the time we're ready to do applications, or if we have to do applications, there'll be an updated one, and I'll get that. And I send that home to families. So that's something that we distribute out to our families. The schools have it on file, and they even distribute out to families, and it's a family application. So if you have kids that go to 3 different schools, it's one application for all 3 of your kids.
Okay.
So that would come to me. I would approve it, put it in my point of sale system. So that way, when that student puts in that number, they're, they're not identified as free, reduced, or paid to anyone else except the cashier and themselves.
Now,
very private.
The question for me is, if there is a change and the federal funding stops, does the CP continue for the rest of the school year, or do we have to start this right away?
Well, right now, we are CEP next year as well. That's part of our thing. So
but can it be pulled, or that's
I don't know. Now I have no idea. I don't think they could just cut us off, but right now I can tell you that the state has gotten their federal funds up until April that was distributed to them. So what happens is the federal gives it to the state then issues it to us as we enter our claims. So right now, I asked the state and they told me they have their federal funding until April.
Okay,
And
But-
Chairman Carpet, I can follow up too on that too as well to try and get clarification. But I think even getting clarification, we're all still at times wondering whether or not that could change
Yes,
soon enough. But I will definitely, I'll follow up, by the next board meeting and stuff, so you can make sure that you have an answer on that.
thank you.
yep.
Jill, I have one question.
Sure.
So just about the policy, I mean, we hope not to have to use it, but if we do
Right.
use it,
Mhm.
the summary of it is if a child's family cannot pay, we'll make multiple reach out situations to them. But in the end, we'll cover it.
Well, that's up in the air. I think in the past, the schools covered it, their individual balances. So that came out of the school budget because the food service
Out of this,
cannot cover that cost.
Mhm.
Even if
I see.
the food service is negative on a whole, right? Like by the end of this year, if we're not profitable, we can't take those funds out of, food service. That's got to come out of different fund, a different bucket, let's say. So, yeah, so in the past, it's been from a school budget. So they budgeted for whatever funds and that came out of their individual school budgets. So it was kind of up to the schools to really keep up on the parents to pay for the meals or reach out to families to pay for the balances. So that I don't know if we'll need to even do it, but I think it is still going to be based on schools. They would be responsible for covering the costs of the negative balances.
And so maybe I can clarify a little bit too for you, Mary Ellen. I think what you're asking when you say we is meaning the school system paying.
I was meaning the
Yeah,
schools. Our budget does absorb that.
And in the past, Jill, before we were CEP, that is exactly how we did it to cover the negative balance.
Right, but we also had those funds to put in that bucket. Now, because the budget is
Because
so
you-
tight, it's gonna be probably a whole different conversation.
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm hopeful that CEP sticks for next year and and we can work out ways to be paid to continue feeding our kids for free in the future. I have been working with the state on a few things, so there's some stuff in the works. So let's hope. Keep your fingers crossed, say a prayer.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chairman Carpy, I don't know if I'll turn this one back, or do you want to talk about this would be one that would be.
We have to vote
yeah.
to move over?
Yeah.
Okay. So motion to approve the meal charging policy, the new one that we just discussed, policy 5037, to the full board.
So moved.
Thank you. Mary Ellen?
Oh, just wait, a clarification. It's not actually new. It's just we're reinstating it if needed.
Reinstating it. Yes, but it says new on the agenda.
Okay, so I second.
No, but I think because we didn't. Yes, because Jill, let me actually clarify that, Jill. Did we have a meal charging policy prior? To CEP?
We did.
Okay,
We did.
good.
Yeah.
Yes. So then I'll clarify that too. Yes. So it is new because it was sunset
Mhm.
at that point, and so it's
Yeah.
coming back as a new policy. Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. So that will move to the full board.
Thank you.
So next item is the student nutrition and physical activity policy.
So our wellness policy. Mary Ellen thankfully is very familiar with this as well. But this is not new. It just needed to be updated. So this year, every 3 years, the district has to basically do a triennial assessment of our wellness policy. So what that means is every 3 years, we have to make sure our wellness policy is up to snuff and it meets all the state guidelines that they ask us to do. And we have to make sure the wellness policy is being put into place at the schools. So that's what the wellness committee does. We meet with representatives from each school and we ask and talk about what our policy is and to be sure that they're the representatives at their school, making sure everything in the wellness policy is being followed at their site. We do, there are a few double ups, but there are some requirements of who needs to be on our wellness policy. And so there's some updates on in this wellness policy now as to how we get those committee members in and reach out to them to see if they want to join the wellness policy, wellness committee. So these are some of the updates that we had to do due to the state requirements. And then I will be scheduling another wellness meeting for my wellness committee members and go over these adjustments. And then we'll do our triennial assessment before June 30th this year. So everything in yellow is the updates and anything in blue is kind of what we've added, but not so much like brand new. It's just kind of an updated version of what the state asks. So it was something that we may not had in the policy, but we kind of reworded most of it. So yeah, so if everything you see in yellow, do you want me to read each one off, Ralph, or
just like maybe summarize like what it's stating or?
Okay, sure. So in the health education, they're looking for helping educate students on food groups and labels and making sure students are kind of aware of the requirements and the quality and conditions of foods. So that's been kind of added into that, including nutrition education piece. The next one is the nutrition education integrated into broader curriculum where appropriate. So you didn't want to say everybody has to have this because it's kind of where appropriate. So like in our health classes, nutrition education is great. I know in kindergarten classes, there's some nutrition education where it's simple as like, here's a cup, how many liters does, do these cups make into this jar type of thing. So they just want to see that there's some sort of integration of curriculum in just about every level. So that's that. The next was, let's see. Oh, so sponsoring health fairs, TV turnoff weeks. So this is just a push to have each school, and we already do this, but again, this is just kind of reworded to update rather than, a blanket statement. But these are things that we're asking the schools to promote and get out there with their kids so a turn off TV week is great. Family day activities in the schools. And I can tell you, I've been to school activities. So this is happening in our district. It just needed to be, again, reiterated. But there are intramural sports now. So that was added in here because way back when we did not have intramural in the middle school. So for teachers and administrators to encourage students to sign up for intramural sports and activities after school at each level is great. So down to the bottom, encouraging and promoting the use of safe routes. So this is something that we started last year, and it's basically Joanna, the transportation director, and myself work with the city to make sure the walking routes to schools are safe and our kids can have the option to walk to school and do it safely. So that's new, and we're encouraging the elementary schools to help get our students walking and coming into school on a bike or however they can get. Setting physical education requirements is basically, there were time frequencies in here. So as you can see, there's an elementary requirement, a middle, and a high school requirement here. So those were the changes there. And we're looking to have 20-minute active daily recesses for the elementary level, including like extra recess time, breaks to go out when it's nice and play out, outside, just to get yourself moving. Maybe you need a break and, you need to go take 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes to go play outside. So it's just adding a little extra activity. Addressing physical education exemption. So what this is we had to be more specific. So if a student's in, say, ROTC, and the gym teacher's like, oh, you don't have to do it because you're in ROTC, we can't do that. That's we can't have substitutions where, like, or if you're playing sports and you have a gym class, you can't eliminate them from doing gym because of their extracurricular activities. So that was that change there. And then I asked Ralph to add the physical activity link. So if families are in here, they can click on that and it'll go directly to the physical activity link that we have policy there. All the links here are the section 10 to 15, that's all food nutrition. So those are just guidelines that parents can go look at. And then privacy protection in the cafeterias, again, we're same as the meal charge policy. We're all cashless in every school. So there is no recognition of money transactions or anything like that, because everything's done online, or Apple Pay is now in the high schools. So we cannot basically, we have to keep their eligibilities and everything that's happening private. So that was the big change there. And again, like I said, it's linked to their school ID. Every school, so the documentation prior did not say that we serve both breakfast and lunch at each school every day. So that was the only change here. And then all meals for food and beverages. Okay, so we also participate in the healthy food certification. I know Diane knows that well because she has to put that as a vote every year, which is coming up, Diane. So just so you know.
I need to practice that paragraph.
So this is basically saying that everything that's sold outside of in the cafeterias and outside of the cafeterias are following that policy. So the link is here, as well as all that those items. So one of the big things here for this is the school stores, the school vending machines in the high schools. Those also need to follow those guidelines. So
And Jill, if I can jump in, when we do go back to the fundraising regulation this summer with the PTOs, I'll make sure that I clarify that obviously the concession stands are fine, but the school store is something that still needs to have healthy foods.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And like you said, the concession is always voted as, no worries. So that's an exemption. So we don't have to, we can sell whatever and they could do fundraising out of those concessions for football games, things like that. So that's great. Yeah, the fundraiser thing is really more the elementary schools where we need parents. If they're selling pies, they can sell pies. They can sell things that are not on this, but the students cannot take that home to the families. So when they have to bring those pies or those cookies that they sold home, the schools need to set up a time where the parents can come pick those up and bring them to their customers, because the kids can't take a box of cookies home, and because they could eat them on the bus, and that's what. So as long as the school set up a time for parents to come pick up those items, they can sell them, but just can't have the kids take them home. So that's basically that. Let's see, eliminating outside food. Yep, field trips. Okay, so parties, that's due to allergens. It's more allergies than anything else. When kids are bringing in cupcakes, we just can't do it anymore, because parents don't know if a student's allergic to nuts and they have a mixer that they just made nut brownies in, and then they think they wash it out enough, and then they make something else where they think it's nut free, but that student goes into anaphylactic shock because there's still remnants of those nuts in there. So we just want to eliminate all chances of that happening. So being due to allergen concerns, anything coming in from outside for parties or classroom parties or offerings just are not going to be allowable. But we do want extra privileges for those birthday kids, right? So they could be a line leader, or they can be I don't know, they can work the board, or have, call out extra gym time or recess, or, things like that. So, so that was the changes there mainly. Eliminating food as a reward is definitely, not allowable. Again, it's candy, so we can't bribe our children to or give them the sweets to do it. And then, yep. Okay, so we have how to handle the feeding children with unpaid meal balances. There's no stigmatizing. So like we said earlier, every student gets the same meal, but can we add that link there, Ralph? The
link to the meal
charge
Yep.
policy link?
Yep,
Yeah,
we will.
so that'd be great. And then so we're trying to up our participation, and one of those things is we added in to this was there's scheduled lunch periods, but there's also grab and go breakfasts. So students can just come in the front door, grab their breakfast, and go back to their classroom to eat. And we do add food promotions and healthy new foods. We take surveys for students, let them try and vote on the items. So that was added in. That's the blue that you see there. We always like to have the students vote, because we don't want to bring something into the cafeteria that they didn't like. We don't like to just bring it in, because it could be a dud. I'd rather have the kids tell me they like it, and then I'll bring it in. Let's see, currently the district's purchasing food items. Okay, so this, we definitely use a lot of our funding for local farms. I don't know how much this is gonna happen moving forward, but these local farms are fantastic, and we love to have them come visit and talk to our kids about what they grow. We had the Adopt a Cow come and visit and tell us about their dairy farming. So these are done throughout the cafeterias or their schools, and we just want to put this on the wellness policy, because then our committee members can let us know what's happening in their schools and what we need to do more of if that does so come up. So that's that. Yep, and then the measuring of the implementation of the wellness is exactly that. It's the wellness committee. So that's what we do. We meet 4 times a year. And so, yep, Sandra is responsible. Yep, and then the blue on the bottom, notification will be posted in Parent Square for staff members, parents, and students. That's how we're gonna really get people to sign up. And I'll probably do that early in the school year, so that way I can get a few parents to sign up. Even students are welcome to join. It's difficult for them though, because of our meeting times and stuff, but we do encourage students to join us and give us their input. And then I think that was it, right? Okay, so
And you've already stated that.
4 times a year. So that's about it.
That was it.
Yep, that was the last one.
Jill, so this is the state requirements or state's additions, and I'm just happy to hear. So it means the whole state serves breakfast and lunch. Every public school student in the state of Connecticut gets
Pretty
breakfast.
much. Yeah, it depends on their I added breakfast because we do serve breakfast. It depends on the size of the district. There are some districts that are very small and they don't have the capacity to do it, but we do. So I wanted to make sure if we have breakfast, we're making sure they know
Okay,
that we have
so
it.
it's not every single, but if we do have it, then it's
Yes,
available.
right. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that's a wonderful thing. And I'm behind you in getting to be federal
Thank you.
always.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Need you more now than ever.
Yes, yeah. So does the board have any questions for Jill around this, or?
Um, the part of the intramural sports
Mhm,
in middle schools.
mhm.
I know that's a topic of conversation. But with any policy, we can actually make any changes that we may need if there's any changes at school levels. So
Yeah,
wanted to
right.
make sure that the public knows that, because in
Mhm.
case we do have to bring that back for a change or a deletion, then that is something that we can do.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's
And
just being that it's activity. And I know some do and some don't, but encourage the kids to do whatever activity, after school activity may be,
Mhm,
and I said intramural because that was one of the things that was a suggestion,
mhm,
but if we don't do it, then we can definitely update it. Because there's other programs that definitely, as long as it's a physical activity,
mhm.
schools are encouraging students to do that. I think that's more what the state's looking to do, or have at least verbiage of.
That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
and I do think that, if I can just chime in for 2 seconds, from a process standpoint, we really do. I think our district, one of the things that I'm really proud of is, as I've been doing more with policy, realizing like how much the connectedness is between different areas of that are affected by policy, and how the board and everybody else is in actually really good communication around doing these updates. This one in particular, though, this is like a model example of how you have a committee that actually looks at things annually, that has a good working relationship with all of the schools, and that's always brought back to policy. And if you notice, we do this on an annual basis to just make sure that the checks and balances are all in place.
Mhm.
So, even with the intramural sports, that would be something that would be very, very easy in this policy to fix, because it's coming up every year.
Right.
Jill pops in and on an annual basis to kind of give us an update about what's going on and any other tweaks that need to be made. So it really is. Jill, I commend you and Sandra for making sure that's actually happening well, and there's a lot of communication, and you're closing the loop of like
Mhm.
things for the community as a whole.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate the communication and everyone here, because even with Mary Ellen on the wellness policy committee, and I've been here for 25 years, so I've seen no help and minimal help, and then this is just above and beyond, and I can't thank everyone enough. Ralph, thank you for helping us with these policy changes, and I really appreciate everyone, all of you coming to vote on all the changes whenever necessary. And I mean, people, I can tell you, when I met with a lot of our colleagues in Connecticut, were astonished at how I was like, oh no, my policy team will definitely reach out and I can talk to them anytime. Like, so it's just amazing. And I can't thank you all enough for being so there, so present with all of the needs that some of us do have. So I greatly appreciate what you guys are doing as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, ladies? No. So
No.
we're moving. Let's see, policy 5031, student nutrition and physical activity policy. With these new updates, I need a motion to move to the full board.
I make a
Mary
motion.
Ellen, seconded by
Second.
Janine, and we're all good. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And
Thank
I'll
you.
see, well, no, I won't see you two, but I have to jump to my next meeting. But thank you for everything that everybody's doing. Ralph, Jill. I know you guys are working all the time too. So, it makes a difference, like Jill says, that when we have the communication there and are willing to work with each other, knowing that the kids always come first. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Good night.
Great,
Great.
thanks.
Good night. Good luck,
Good night.
Diane.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.